Hello and welcome to another episode of the On the Move podcast. I'm your host Eric, and today I would like to talk about failures. But before that, it's the weekend. You know what that means. A lot has been going on during the week, so let's start the weekend off with a big breath. Lovely. Today I'm quite literally on the move. I'm actually recording this podcast walking. So let's see how that goes. But I want to talk about failure because last weekend we spoke about goals and the process of working towards your goals. And during the process of development or working towards a goal, there will be something that we call failure. A bump. But I'm here to tell you that failure is an illusion. So in order to talk about failure and gain as much clarity as possible here, we need to establish what failure actually is. And usually when that question comes up, we think about feelings, like it's something bad, it's scary, it's not good. But a failure is really just a happening. It's an experience, it's an event, and we are the ones that connect a feeling to it. But the failure in and of itself is an event. It's a happening. So, what does this mean actually? It means that depending on where we are in our emotional state, when looking at a happening that we see as a failure, we will interpret that differently. So, for example, if I'm in a really low emotional state, maybe I'm angry or sad or whatever, it's going to be very hard for me to feel like I can learn something from something that I call a failure. And if I'm instead in a very high state, where I'm very happy, very clear in my mind, and just emotionally on a big positive side, I might feel like that fail or a mistake is more of a happening that's there to teach me something. I'm sure there are a lot of us that can relate to the feeling of us going through something, and then maybe many years later, after that happening, or after that failure, or what we might call as a mistake or whatever, many years later we feel like, that was a good thing that happened because I've learned something from it. I'm grateful for that happening. And we don't really see it as a failure anymore. But we might have done so in the moment. And that's just great proof of the fact that a failure is simply an illusion, because it is a happening. And in every happening or in every event, everything that happens to us, there is an opportunity to hate on yourself and go really low emotionally. But there is also an opportunity to learn something and rise from it. So it's really just a question of interpretation. Like, how do we see this experience? A good question to ask yourself is, how would the best version of myself see this? Like, me as Eric version 10.0, how would he see this experience? Would it be considered a failure that makes me sad? Or would it be considered an experience to teach me something? Now that obviously comes from different emotional states. So it's really important for us to not connect ourselves and our self-worth to the things we do. So it's very important that we don't connect us or our self-worth or the way we see ourselves to these happenings that we call mistakes or failures, because that will make us go into a rut and not feel very good about ourselves. And that also makes us not think clearly and see it for what it is. And that makes it much harder to learn from that experience or that happening. What we have to remind ourselves of sometimes is that failing is part of nature. And that's why it's not actually failing. And what I mean by that is that everything that we do as animals or human beings is learning things and then adjusting, learning and adjusting, or you could call it error calibrating. So whenever you want proper development of yourself or your abilities to do something, there's always gonna be small errors, and you always have to continuously do adjustments or calibrations to adapt and learn and be better all the time. Because that is our nature. We are made to grow and learn and excel. And right now I'm walking around in wonderful sunshine, and I'm walking around among all these trees. And this is really what nature is, growth and adaptation. And that's us. So the best way is to see things for what it actually is. And nature doesn't judge. It doesn't say that something is bad or good. That's us. Human beings do that. We say that, oh, this is not good and this is much better. And we try to put different values on everything. But to nature, everything is the same. And everything is happening now. And everything is, everything is happening at the same time. And there's just constant adjustments. So another good reminder regarding that is that the only constant is change. And you've probably heard that before, but it's so easy for us to, us as human beings, to try and hold on to things as if things could be the way they used to be. They can't, and they never will be. A few weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, I was in Stockholm, in the area where I grew up. And leaving Stockholm, I just felt this big nostalgia, but also like I was really missing that part of my childhood, the good parts of my childhood, where we grew up in that area and had so much fun. And I felt kind of sad, actually. I realized a week later that I was in a small rut. I was kind of in a low state because I was thinking so much about how things used to be for me emotionally and spiritually when I was a kid in that area. But after a week, I realized that I've been a bit emotionally unstable here because I have been fighting the laws of the universe, that things are always changing and it can never be the way it was. So whenever we let go and just see things for what they are without judging, that this is what is right now and this is what it is supposed to be, and what can I learn from what is right now, then things will be so much easier. Because if you don't do that, there's going to be a lot of resistance probably to change or failures or things that might not go as we plan them to go. So just release your guard, release your judgment, and just see everything as an experience and an opportunity to learn and grow. Because that's exactly what it is. Everything else is just other things that we have learned that's not actually true. And the reason for why I'm saying this is because usually we grow up learning to not make mistakes and that failure is bad, instead of being taught that, okay, this is an experience, it has nothing to do with me as a human being, but it's an opportunity to learn something. And that's just crazy that that's not what we learn in society. It's supposed to be the other way around. But since we are learning to not make mistakes, and that failure is usually something bad and that we should be scared of, that's going to be like a programming for us. And essentially that means that whenever an opportunity comes up to actually learn something, or maybe we want to do something, or we get an idea that, oh, we want to do this, initially we might feel like, whoa, this is awesome, I would love to do that. And then our programming starts to take over and say, it's going to be hard, or I can't do that because this and that. And we get scared and we come up with reasons for why we can't do something. And that's only because we have been taught to fear failure. And that's a very relieving thought, actually, because that means that all the experiences that you have been through have taught you something, not because of the experience itself, but because of how you interpreted the experience. And that's the reason why the same thing can happen to two different people, but they interpret it completely different. One of them might say, oh man, this is so bad, I'm never gonna do this again, I'm scared to this and that, and go into a really low emotional state. While the other person can be like, oh wow, this is the sign that I have been waiting for. This is an experience to teach me something, and something better is coming. I just know that. So the thing is, it's not about the event itself. We think it is, but it's just how we choose to interpret it. Okay, so how can we make a difference and think that something good comes out of something that we initially think is bad? Well, as I said before, programming. We gotta teach ourselves to remind us of the distance between us, the way we see ourselves, and the experience that we initially might think is a failure or something bad. And how do we do that? Well, repetition. Just how we have been taught everything else through repetition, then this too should be repeated. And for this, we can start with small steps, or we should start with small steps, because anything else is hard. But whenever something comes up that makes you feel low, angry or sad or whatever, your reaction might be like it has always been. Your reaction to that event might be a certain way that you don't like, but you can take distance from that and just remind yourself that, okay, what is this teaching me? And maybe the next time you will forget to do that, something happens, but just remind yourself that there is an opportunity here to learn something. And the more you do that, the more you will understand that in the moment of that thing actually happening. Because as I said earlier, sometimes we look back at an event years later and see it as a good thing, even though we in the moment saw it as a big trauma or a really, really bad event. So we can just get better at seeing that earlier and not having to wait several years. We can wait a minute. We can be sad and angry for a minute. And then we go to, interesting. What can I do, or how can I think to make the next happening that's similar to this different in a way that benefits me? So yeah, I think this episode just works as a little reminder that failure is indeed an illusion, and it's all just experiences. And then we are the ones to choose how the experiences should be interpreted. I hope this gave you some clarity. It gave me a little bit of clarity, so I'm very grateful for that. This is the On the Move podcast. Last weekend I forgot to mention a song, but I have gotten a song recommendation from my sister, actually. And she says that the song Lovely Day by Bill Withers is a good song to move your body to. So listen to that song, move your body, keep moving, don't stop, and just enjoy the process. Don't see your experiences as failures, see it as opportunities to learn something, and especially never connect your identity and your self-worth to anything but yourself. Your experiences are not you. Your experiences are external, and they are there for a reason. It's a lovely day, it's a lovely weekend. Enjoy and take care. Bye. Oh, I forgot to ask again. Please, if you have a song recommendation or a song that you enjoy moving your body to, then please leave a comment about that song in the comment section, and I will play it in the next episode or give it out as a recommendation, because this is the On the Move podcast and we're constantly moving. The question is, where to? So keep moving.